All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Awesome. So today we're tackling something pretty unique, I think.
Definitely.
The angulate tortoise,
Yeah.
sometimes called the bowsprit tortoise.
That's a good one.
It is a good one, right? I mean, have you seen pictures of these things?
Oh, yeah. They're amazing looking.
It's really appropriate.
Yeah.
And we're going to be pulling all of our info today from this essay, The Angulate Tortoise, a remarkable survivor of the South African landscape.
Great essay.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating look at these creatures.
It is.
And I'm excited to kind of dig into what makes them tick.
Yeah. And why they matter so much, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Why should we care about this little tortoise?
Well, they're a vital part of the ecosystem. Plus, they're just cool.
They are really cool looking.
Yeah.
So let's start with, I guess, the basics, right? Where do these things even live?
Okay, so picture this. South Africa and Namibia.
Okay.
Some of the most extreme environments you can imagine.
I'm talking like deserts.
Deserts. Scorching hot.
Wow.
Windswept dunes. Very little rainfall.
And this little tortoise is just chilling out there.
Thriving. That's what's so remarkable.
I mean, how do they even survive in a place like that? It seems impossible.
Well, they've got a whole bunch of adaptations that help them deal with the harsh conditions.
Like, what? Give me some examples.
Okay, so first off, they're tiny.
Tiny.
Yeah, only about 12 to 15 centimeters long.
Huh. So like the size of my hand?
Yeah, pretty much. They can fit in the palm of your hand.
That's so small for a tortoise.
Right. But it's perfect for their environment.
How so?
Well, it means they don't need as much food or water.
Makes sense.
Plus, their small size allows them to burrow and hide from predators.
Okay, so being small is a good thing in this case.
Definitely.
What else? What about their shell? Does that play a role?
Oh, absolutely. Their shells are really high-domed.
Like really rounded.
Yeah, almost like a little walking fortress.
I'm picturing it now.
And this shape helps them to absorb heat more efficiently in the cooler mornings.
So it's like their own personal sun catcher.
Exactly. They need all the help they can get to stay warm in those cold desert nights.
Wow, nature's so clever.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got small size and a heat-absorbing shell.
Right.
Anything else that makes them stand out?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget the bowsprit?
Ah, yes. The essay mentioned something about that.
It's this prominent angular projection.
On the males, right.
Yes, only the males have it.
And it's on their shell.
Well, not exactly. It's on the underside of their shell, which is called the plastron.
Okay.
And it sticks out like the bowsprit of a ship, hence the nickname.
So it's not just a cute name, it's actually accurate.
Totally accurate.
But what's it for? Is it just decorative?
Nope. It's their secret weapon.
A weapon?
Really?
Yeah, they use it for fighting.
Tortoise fights? What are we talking about here?
Well, it's more like showing matches, really.
Shoving with their bowsprits.
Exactly. They try to flip their rivals onto their backs using those gaggle projections.
And why are they fighting?
Competition. For territory. For mates. Oh, so it's all about dominance.
Exactly. The winner gets the prime territory and the best chance to mate.
So basically, these tiny tortoises are like mini gladiators.
You could say that. It's pretty amazing to watch.
So these bowsprit battles are pretty intense then.
Oh, yeah. They can get pretty heated.
Pun intended.
Maybe a little. But seriously, it's a fascinating display of strength and strategy.
All thanks to that oddly shaped shell.
Right. You wouldn't think something like that could be so useful.
It's amazing how evolution works.
It really is.
But okay, with all this fighting for territory and mates,
Yeah.
what are they even eating out there in the desert?
Good question. Well, they're herbivores.
No way.
Yep. They munch on grasses, succulents, leaves.
Huh. Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised by that.
But hold on. How do they get enough water in the desert?
That's the really cool part.
Okay, tell me more.
These tortoises are masters of water conservation.
What do you mean?
They can extract moisture from their food.
Like squeezing water out of a rock?
Sort of. They've got these amazing adaptations that allow them to get every last drop of water from those tush desert plants.
That's incredible.
And they can also absorb dew that collects on the vegetation.
Wow, so they're like little self-sufficient water filters.
Exactly. They've really got it figured out.
So they find food, they find water, they fight for territory and mates.
Yeah.
What about reproduction? How many eggs do they lay?
Well, you might be surprised to learn this, but they
Wow.
only lay a very small clutch of eggs.
Really? How many are we talking?
Usually just 1 to 3.
That's it.
That's it.
But why so few?
Well, it's a tough environment to raise young.
That's true.
And those few eggs have a better chance of survival if there aren't too many mouths to feed.
Makes sense.
They deposit the eggs in a shallow nest, and then they pretty much leave them to incubate for several months.
So the little ones are on their own from the start.
Pretty much. It's a harsh world out there for a baby tortoise,
You got that right.
but they're tough little creatures.
They have to be to survive in that environment.
Absolutely.
And it's a shame that even with all these amazing adaptations,
Yeah.
they're still facing some pretty serious threats.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, the essay touched on human impact being a major concern.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the biggest threats they face.
In what way?
Habitat destruction, mainly.
So we're talking about things like urbanization, agriculture, mining.
Yep, all of that. All those activities are encroaching on their territory.
That's leaving them with less space to live and find food.
Exactly.
That's heartbreaking to think about.
It really is.
What about the illegal pet trade? Does that play a role too?
Definitely. They're small, they're unique looking,
Mm-hmm.
especially those bowsprits.
Right.
So they're really attractive to collectors.
Oh, so people want to keep them as pets.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And that demand fuels the illegal pet trade.
Which puts even more pressure on the wild populations.
Exactly.
It's a double whammy.
And then you add in the threat of introduced predators like domestic dogs.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
And the picture becomes even more concerning.
It sounds like they're really up against it.
They are.
But what's being done to protect these guys?
Well, there are a lot of conservation efforts in place.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, they're trying to protect their remaining habitat.
Through national parks and nature reserves.
Exactly. Those areas provide a safe haven for them.
That's good to hear.
But it's not just about creating protected areas.
Right.
It's also about educating the public.
So people understand the threats they're facing.
Exactly. If people know about the angulate tortoise and why it's important to protect them.
They're more likely to support conservation efforts.
Right. And they'll also be more likely to make responsible choices.
Like not buying them from the illegal pet trade.
Exactly.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is.
It really does.
The fate of this tiny tortoise.
Yeah.
It's tied to the choices we make, even those of us living thousands of miles away.
You got it. Everything we do has an impact on the environment.
And sometimes it's easy to forget that.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about creatures that seem so small and insignificant.
But they're not insignificant, are they?
Not at all. The angulate tortoise is a perfect example of that.
Its story reflects a much larger issue.
Absolutely.
The impact of human activity on biodiversity.
And the delicate balance of ecosystems.
It's a powerful symbol of that.
It really is.
But this has been a really fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We've learned so much about the angulate tortoise.
From its built-in weapon
Yeah,
to its incredible adaptations for desert life.
and the very real threats it's facing.
It's a story that everyone should know.
I agree. And it makes you wonder, right? What other remarkable survival strategies are out there?
Hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. And more importantly, what can we do to ensure that these creatures have a fighting chance?
We all have a part to play in their conservation.
That's a great point. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the natural world.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.